Hello, this is Vulturefire, and this is part 7 of my field guide to the Vortex. Today's video is about the aspect of tenacity, which is the 5th of 5 aspects. So, the main themes for the aspect of tenacity: status, crystallize, big hits, and a surprise second phase. So it starts with a relatively low amount of health, 150, and a lot of starting shield, 550, for a total bulk of 700. And initially, you may think this isn't that big of a deal. Like, Ma has 1200 health, and this is 500 less than that, so easy fight, right? No. There's a second phase. We'll get to it. But before we get to what it will do after you kill it, let's talk about what it gets. We will get to what it does on this slide. I don't organize things very well. Anyway, so it's going to start with Fortress 5 and Purity 3. That's a pretty decent enough damage reduction, but honestly, at this point in the run, you probably are prepared for that sort of thing. Purity 3 usually pretty easy to chip through. You know, it's less than Baylater has. Baylater has 4, so probably can manage that. The Opportunist is fairly easy to deal with. It's 6x2 damage, Crystallized 2, Plated 2. This is one of the lower threat Opportunist procs. And mentioning again, in case you're not sure why I bring this up, it's because the Manic Presence Weather can give Opportunist to any enemy in Area 4, so it's very relevant to know what the Opportunist action does. So, the big thing here is on death it spawns 2 spawns of tenacity. They don't have names. They're just called Aspect of Tenacity if you click on them. I'm just going to refer to them as front and back for this. The summons are each 2 spots wide. Tenacity is only 3 spots wide, which means that during the first part of the fight, you can summon 2 allies. This is the only fight in the game that still has a thing that used to be a thing all the time, which is that spawning these 2 spawns of tenacity will always fill up all 4 spots, and it will just destroy any summon that is in the second summon spot. So be careful, be aware of that. You can only bring 1 ally with you. You can only have 1 ally survive into the second phase. And it won't count as it dying for the purposes of things like Unstable or Death Spores either. You're just going to be sad. So, the main worm is going to do these things in order. Turn 1, it's going to gain a bunch of shield, 125 shield. It's going to give you Crystallized 3. Then second turn, it's going to deal 12x2 damage. It's going to play 18 of random status. It's going to give you 2 more Crystallize, and it's going to gain Powerful 3. It's also going to give +2 to all of these values ever for the next cycle. It's worth noting that anytime I say this like plus values to a cycle, that refers to that specific card. And it means that card. It doesn't mean all copies of that card. It means that one card, which is relevant because there are 2 copies of that card. The third card is you get Brain Freeze 1, Overcharge 2, Arcane Leak 2, and it cleanses itself twice. And then that's going to be +1 to all of those each time it cycles through that. So if you go to turn 8, it's going to do Brain Freeze 2, Overcharge 3, Arcane Leak 3, Cleanse 3. Then turn 4, it's going to do basically the same thing you do on turn 2. It's going to do 12 extra damage. It's going to apply 18 random status, 2 more Crystallize, 3 more Powerful, and +2 to all these values per cycle. But this is technically a separate copy of the card, which means it will stack separately. So the first time through, both of these will do 12x2 damage and 18 status. The second time through, both of them will do 14x2 and 20 status. Although, remember, that damage and status number is the baseline number. The actual amount it will do, because of the Crystallize, is often going to be higher. The Crystallize and the Powerful that it's gaining. So you will often see it doing more than it claims here, or more than the base value. And then on turn 5, the last turn of the cycle, it's going to do 30 damage. It's going to apply 30 of a random status. It's going to gain Plated 4, Fortress 4, and Purity 2. So it is worth noting, because it only gains Fortress 4 for every 5-turn cycle, it is on average going to be, it cannot stack Fortress even with 1 idol active. Because 1 idol will bump it to getting 5 Fortress. I believe with 2 idols, 40% of 4 is like 1.6. I don't know. 1.6, which means that it would be, So if there are 2 idols, if you have 3 idols invoked, it will eventually stack Fortress Sack Fortress, but that's very, very slow. Um, Generally speaking, this is not that threatening of a set of actions. If you think back to last video when I was talking about Dread, do you remember I talked about how like Dread turn 1, you've got to be prepared for that freeze. Dread turn 2, you've got to be prepared for that decay and that nullify and that fatigue. Turn 3 of Dread, you finally have some breathing, or yeah, you finally have some breathing with what it's going to do, but you just have to deal with all the curse. And then turn 4, you've got to hope that it can't set up and then start the cycle again. Tenacity, way more chill. It gains a bunch of shield, which is annoying, but not a huge deal. If you can give it frail, it's even better, or it's even easier to manage. It gives you Crystallize 3, which is, again, annoying, but not too bad. That's like, I think Crystallize got nerfed to 4%. So it's like, no, it is still 5%. I was thinking of the other buffs. It's 5%. So you get 15% extra status and damage, which isn't great, but, you know, it's only 3 ranks. You can cleanse that pretty easily. 12x2, 18 of random status. 18 of random status could be bad, but that's only going to be 1 status proc. That's not going to like double freeze you or anything. And again, like the Crystallize 2, not that bad. Powerful 3, The Brain Freeze Overcharge and Arcane Leak could be a problem, but it's because it's only 2 Arcane Leak base. The first time through, it's really not usually a problem, especially if you have any cleanse, and so on for like all the other actions. Like it's not that big of a threat to begin with. And I would generally say First Form Tenacity is the easiest idle fight in terms of threat posed, but that's only talking about the first half. But what this does mean though is you can probably, and you can usually afford to let it take an extra turn if that's what ends up happening. You don't have to you don't have to kill it right as soon as it becomes possible. You'll be fine. Another note here is that can be useful for you is if you give Tenacity Berserk using Bloody. The only way to do that is using Bloody Fury, which is an aspect of destruction card. So you normally won't be able to do this. You need to line up exactly destruction into Tenacity, which there's no way to do that outside of randomness. However, if Idle of Hunger is active in this fight, it also will have the same effect, which is it will not split until the end of its turn. And that is useful to you because that is going to mean that the Tenacity spawns will not be able to act until you have had a full turn to try and deal with them. So, those Tenacity spawns I've been talking about, what do they do? Also, a thing that I just noticed when I was recording this video. So if you look at these two guys, you see you have the red dots, you have the horns, you have the eye. That's the bottom half of this. The eye is the top half, and then the other one is the bottom half. And I did not realize that until just now, and I feel dumb for not noticing for how much I have fought this guy. So these are both the two worms, they're hugging. And then I guess the initial damage just makes them stop hugging, and they're like, fine, we'll fight you. So the Tenacity spawns, the front one starts with Fortress 4, back one starts with Purity 4. Front one has 100 health, 500 shield, so 600 total. Back one has 250 health, 250 shield, so 500 total. So that's 1,100 total bulk that you have to deal with, plus the 700 from the first phase, for a total of 1,800, which is a lot, but not an unthinkable amount. Then the opportunist attacks. The front one will deal 6x2 damage, divide 80 shield between enemies. Not a huge problem. Back one will deal 4x2 damage, apply 8 of random status, and apply Crystallize 2, and that will be +1 per trigger. This could be a problem if you are triggering it a lot, but unless you are going out of your way to trigger opportunists on the back one, this probably won't happen. So, Tenacity spawns. They are on, I believe, a 4-turn cycle. Let's go through that. Turn 1, the front aspect, the front spawn is going to divide 200 shield between the two of them, which means 100 for each, assuming they're both alive, and it's going to give both of them 3 fortress. That is going to add to the fortress that this one already has. The back one is going to give you a bad day. It's going to apply 13 Frost, 13 Shock, 22 Arcane, and that's going to go up by 4 every cycle. So, first note here, you remember that Crystallize that Tenacity was putting on you? This is where it can really hurt if you haven't been able to manage it. Because if this guy's able to triple status bomb you, you're going to have a bad time. The good news is, Frost comes out first, so if you have Purity, you can block that. Bad news is, despite the Shock technically being in the middle here, due to the way that Shock works in this game, Shock is only actually applied last in an action. So if you have 2 ranks of Purity, the Frost will eat 1, the Arcane Detonation will eat the second one, and then finally you will end Shocked for the next turn. And that is going to be a problem because this guy is hitting you for a bunch of damage. On turn 2, this guy does 12x3 damage. It's going to go do 3 AoE damage, or so not 3 AoE damage, 3 AoE frail. So again, AoE means you and your allies, and this damage also to you and your allies. And then it's going to divide 5 powerful between these two. 5 divided by 2 is 2.5, which rounds up to 3. Both of them are going to get 3 powerful. And then, after it's done making your day worse, the back one is going to give you 1 Brain Freeze, 1 Overcharge, 3 Arcane Leak, and then it's going to share 3 Purity between the two of them. 3 divided by 2 is 1.5, as you have already learned from this. Or no, sorry, that's not 3 divided, that's 3 AoE. Just both of them get 3 Purity each, which can be kind of obnoxious. Ideally, you have Cleanse to deal with this. If you don't, this 3 Arcane Leak can be a problem. And then especially like you're having to recover from all this damage. On turn 3, you're going to see you're going to see Clint out of the front one, 10 divided powerful. So that's now 5 more on each of them, or 10 if it's alone. And then the back one is going to do the same thing it did on turn 1, but similar to how Tenacity had those 2 different versions of the 12x2 damage card. This is a second version of the triple status card, so it will also not increase each time you see it. It will increase every other time you see it effectively, because there are 2 copies of the card. Another thing, and when I say copies of a card, enemies effectively have a deck that and each of their actions that they take on turn is a card in their deck that they are playing effectively. In the back end, that's how it looks. So when I refer to something like having 2 cards in the deck, like this is exactly the same as if this guy was playing a card that said apply 13 Frost, 13 Shock, 22 Arcane to the player, increase all these values by 4. Because that is effectively what it is doing. So triple status, obviously really annoying. And then finally, 4th turn in the cycle, this guy does this attack again. 12x3, 3 frail, 5 divided powerful. Back one does 3 weak, 3 vulnerable, 1 madness. As you may have noticed, these guys have significantly less chill. You are going to be alternating turns of triple status bombs with turns of big triple hits, which means you're often, if you cannot deal with the back one, you will repeatedly be going into these big multi-hits while shocked. And that's a problem. Be prepared for that. Ideally, like I said, you want to spend a little bit of time against Tenacity if you can, setting up, so that when turn 2 happens, so that when the second phase happens, you are ready to immediately come out of the gate swinging, and you are able to do significant damage to them right out of the gate, and don't give them time to start scaling up. The other important note here is this shows in the game, by the way, is like the 3 up arrows, the AoE buff. When this guy is doing double 3 up arrow, I think it's, when it's doing double 3 up arrow, when it's doing double AoE buff, do not freeze the back one unless you freeze the front one. Because this cleanse 2, that will remove frost on the back one if it is frozen. Or it will remove frozen from the back one if it is frozen. So if you freeze the back one and you think, okay, I'm safe, you will pass turn. This guy's going to cleanse off the frozen, both ranks of it. This guy's going to laugh at you and triple status bomb you. Be prepared for that. Don't let yourself get hit by it, because I did. I have suffered so that you might not. So that is Tenacity. Like I said, trick to the fight mostly. Set up phase 1, shut him down phase 2. Extra max status helps, same as it does in Dread Fight, although I think it's less crucial because you aren't completely shut out of turn 2 in the same way. As always, any cleanse is good, any debuff or any dispel is good. Arcane, frost, these things are good in basically every area 4 fight. Cleanse, good in basically every area 4 fight. Purity is good in every area 4 fight. Just the usual stuff. So, once you have defeated these guys, let's talk about the reward cards. First up, Assaulted Defenses. This is a 4 mana skill. You get 20 shield, sturdy 10, and tough 2. You cleanse yourself twice, and you divide powerful 4 among all enemies. Upgrades to 24 shield, 12 sturdy, still tough 2, but you cleanse yourself a 3rd time. You divide 6 powerful. This card is pretty reasonable. Defying 4 powerful across all enemies can be a problem, but generally speaking, most of the time you'll have some way to deal with that. If you're a defense deck, like you will be playing enough arcane that you are expecting that powerful to not be a big deal. The upgrade here might be a bit sketchy, but you know, you'll know if you need it. The extra so having this last chance to get tough, sturdy, cleanse, and shield, and at a bargain rate for all of this, like this is better than sanctuary level rates. It's like the same price as sanctuary, but you get sturdy with it. And the powerful enemies can be a problem, but usually it's manageable. This is worse, by the way, if destruction is your next aspect, because giving powerful to destruction can be a big mistake. But if you're not fighting destruction, then absolutely seems good. And then the other card here, the other note here is like, this is good, but it is a purely defensive card. So if you think your defenses are handled, you can take something else. This is not like a must take in the same way that I would say, like the conquest cards often are. Elemental Focus is gain 5 mana if an enemy is frozen, 5 mana if an enemy is shocked, and 5 mana if you trigger an arcane detonation this turn. And I messed up my screenshots. I do not have Elemental Focus Plus. Give me a moment to... I believe it's 6 or 7 mana for Elemental Focus Plus. Like, it's more mana. You can I don't have the exact numbers here, but it's, even more mana. This is pretty good if you have a triple status card. If you're playing a triple status deck, if you can only hit like 1 or 2 statuses, this is usually fine. If you're playing a deck that is running a decent amount of arcane or a decent amount of shock, meaning at least one of these conditions isn't hard, and you can meet both conditions even without the frozen, that is 10 mana, which is quite a lot of mana considering it doesn't have aside from the setup, it does not have a drawback. So if setting it up is something that your deck is doing on any turn your deck is functioning, then it effectively does not have a drawback. And that is a lot of mana to play with to let you do other things. So yeah, both are solid cards. You'll kind of know if you need them. They are not the sort of cards that are going to change your run necessarily, but if you are in the right place, they could save your run. Either because you need that extra little bit of cleanse and tough and sturdy, or because you needed a little more mana fixing to straighten out some issues. So that is it for this part. With that, I've now recorded all of the aspects. I have not yet recorded the Mudrara videos or even put together the slides for them. So as I've said with the other videos, if you have any comments, have any questions, anything like that, let me know. If you're interested in seeing the other parts of this field guide, check the description. There will be a link to the playlist. Barring that, I will see you tomorrow for part 8, Mudrara.